Alright, guys. Alrighty. Putting this away because I don't need it anymore. Let's see what else I don't need anymore. I think it might be golden already. Alright. Welcome, guys. Welcome to another live stream here today. Or if you're watching this later on after it gets uploaded, welcome to another video here today. Hope you guys are doing great and wonderful on this day, especially on a Monday. It's a brand new week. I hope you guys have been doing great. Alright, so we're gonna continue working on where we left off last time, and that is to keep making the trees work with this new setup. And I got the shaders back into normal. I'm able to hit the tree. It does its a little shader effect, right? We can go in real quick and show you guys what I mean. We're just diving in, guys. We're just diving into the game. So, you know, I can pick up an axe and then I can smack the tree if the character, there we go. I'm able to smack the tree and it does, you know, it's a little shader effect. So now what I wanted to do is be able to chop it down, produce resources and all of that it needs to give you every time you're hitting the tree. So just bring it back to how it was. So that is the plan, and have that working. Also making sure that it works when you save it, so that if you were to log out and come back in, it remembers that the tree was chopped down already, or remembers how many times it's been hit. So that's what I need to do. Alright, cool. Alright, well, let's dive in, guys. Hopefully the stream is fine. It's telling me that's fair. I don't know why it always tells me that. And sometimes it changes over time, so feel free to let me know if the stream is not looking great. Alright, well, let's get started, shall we? So let's get that into working. So how I was doing it before when it wasn't in tile map is, actually, let's go to the axe class. Okay, so what it would do before is that it will go to the, and when it does the axe action, when the player whips out the axe and hits the tree, it will do a ray collision, or a ray cast, basically. I'm checking to see if it hit the collider of the tree, and if it did, it will go through all this stuff in here. It'll keep track of all the stuff that it had, the position, all the custom data that tile had for that tree, and making sure I had the correct item when I was smacking this tree. Keeping track of the alternative tile ID, and basically just updating the shader. That's basically what it was doing before when it came to hitting the when doing the raycast for the tree. And then on the stream I updated it also if it's not a last hit layer, so if it's not a tile map layer, then I'm assuming that it's going to be a static body 2D for the time being. I may need to change this depending on what I'm hitting, but so right now I get the owner and then I get the sprite to then change the effect on the shader. What I got to do here is to keep track of this parent in some way, so when the action's complete, let me turn this down a little bit. So this does the primary action, and then when the action is complete, I reset some of the states that I need to reset. And then if I hit anything, then I check to see if I collided with anything, and I update the alternative tile. And then if this had any resource, it would produce the resource that you needed, and it would drop it into the world if it wasn't able to add it to your inventory, if it was full or anything like that. And then provide some type of toast to say like, hey, you acquired this certain resource. and then we'll do a callback and return this data back into the game manager. But since my tree is now a node 2D now and not a tile map tile, I guess that's the way you would say it, is that it doesn't need an atlas. It doesn't need to know what the next atlas is. So I need to change some of this so that it works for non-tile stuff as well. And then we'll go to the game manager. If I open that up, and it should be called on axe complete or something around those lines. On axe complete, there we go. So it will return that data that you guys just saw into this function here, and then basically just keeps track of it in my save data dictionary, so that if the player ever ends up saving the game, it will keep track of it. So there's some stuff in here that I could keep track of now that it doesn't need, because the tree doesn't need this direction or doing this thing here. So let's make some updates to that, and let's create another data object in here. It'll be a new item. Let's call it environment. I'm just gonna call it environment data, and I only need the header file for it. Let's copy this, and we're gonna have namespace. I like doing namespaces for this stuff, so it's gonna be a struct environment data, and in here it's gonna keep track of what's my current path. What's the right way to say it? Godot. It's gonna be a string to the path of this scene, because I need to know what I need to render first. So I'm just gonna call it current scene path. And when this is complete, I also need to know what my next scene I need to use. So if I chop down a tree, it needs to revert to a tree trunk. So I need to know what the next scene path will be. I guess we can start off with this, and we can keep adding more to it. And so right now it doesn't know what these are. So let's do a namespace Godot, and call class. Actually, I may need to just import string, huh? Because it's not a pointer to it. I guess I'll just import the string here, I guess. Alright. Include Godot. Where is string located? Is it invariant string? Yes. There we go. Cool. And then I would like to keep track of it in here. So let's add. Where do I put it? I put it down below, I guess. Let's include this. Include the data, environment data that we just created. And we'll create a list of these guys. I'll use a SD vector here. And we're just going to call it environment data, or just call it environments actually. And then we want to initialize some of them in here. So we got the scene path, and then the next scene path. So we need to get the current tree path. So I would like to also make it sure that it is in the same way that we spawning the trees. At least I want to keep the same list. So I guess we're doing tree trunk first, big tree and small tree in here. I would like to keep it in this scenario here. So if you're running the first tree trunk here, So that means we're doing this for that. I don't have a next path just because it's a tree trunk. So if you chop down the tree trunk, it reverts to empty. So it doesn't have a next scene path anymore. And let's make sure we do a comment here and say this is a big tree trunk here. Even though the scene path already says it. But just like to clarify that a little bit more. We do that. The next one is going to be the tree, the big tree. Actually, yeah, it's already under a namespace. Never mind. And we'll do this one here, tree, big tree. So when you chop down a tree, when you spawn the tree, it's going to use this one, and when you chop it down, the big tree needs to convert back to a big tree trunk. So that means that the next scene path will be this one. So he points to this one now. The next one is gonna be the small tree one. So in here, it's going to be the small tree. And it's going to point to this one here. And I didn't think the R there. And this one needs to point to the small tree scene. So let's find that small tree. Trunk. Tree trunk small. So I need to copy that path. And then the next scene path for that is going to be that. Why is this crying? It says no instance of constructor, blah blah blah, with matches the argument types. But there's only two. What does that mean? I got environment data. Unless I have another one that's name environment data. Do I have already a class named this? I don't think so. Oh, I do. I do have an environment data. Okay. And maybe it's conflicting with that. Let's see what I can do here. Hold on. Let's see environment. That could be a different name for this. Or maybe I can replace the name of the other one. Let me see what the other one is doing. This is chunk tile map, which is environment data. And this is, what is this doing here? Is it being used at all? I don't think it's being used at all right now. Hold on, I want to make sure that I'm actually not really using it. So it's not being used in chunk tile map. Let's go to the C++ side and see if it's using it. Nope. Alright, well, I'll leave it like that then. I don't know what I was using that for. Okay, there we go. Cool. Cool. So now that I have that, what I want to do is that when it decides to spawn this bad boy, probably do the spawning here differently then. Hold on, this is terrain stuff. Here. position, noise value, heights. Okay, I don't need to do that. So that is in the almost in the bottom when it iterates through all of them, right? And in here, when I call the spawn tree here, instead of passing in here, I would like to pass in the scene path instead. So let's get that little formula that I was using. And here, this will determine the ID that I'm going to be using. And instead, let's do it in here to determine what environment scene I'll be using to spawn. Let's just rewrite some of this. Make it work. And our index. Okay, we're passing noise value. Do that. Godot clamp. And then I want to use the environments that's in my Edenville map. You know what? Let's do something else. Hold on. Let's put it under a namespace. I'm just gonna call it environments. And then all I have to do is call it, and it's kind of dumb, huh? The naming convention, environments. I want to just keep the same naming conventions lowercase. I can live with that for now. Let's make it work. Let's call it environments. If I spell that correctly, please. And the size of that. And the same thing here. And what I have to do is not passing these anymore, and instead passing the scene path from the environments that I have here. From the ID that is on top, and pass in the current scene path. So then let's do that. Let's go back to the ED script and then fix that now. So now we're passing in the scene path in here, which is a string. We're not doing this stuff in here anymore. And all I'm passing is just going to be the scene path in here. And I don't need this anymore either. Cool. Let's go back here. Let's build it and let's see if it's working before we continue to the next thing. Well, first of all, see there's no errors. Oh, there's errors. Let's figure this out, shall we? Error class environment. A linker error. Interesting. I love linker errors. I mean, you should know about it. I passed it in here under the same namespace. Why is there a linker error between that? This is why I love link errors, because it doesn't really tell you exactly, other than saying that environment data. wonder if it has to do with this Godot stream. Oh, multiple defined symbols. What? Multiple defined symbols, huh? Okay. Well, fun. Why doesn't it give me errors for the other ones though? That was the case. Maybe I should. Hold on, maybe if I do the same thing that they're doing here. This is like the old school way of doing defines nowadays. Which is similar to doing pragma once, right? Hold on, let's call it environment. Environment data, define it down here. I don't think this is gonna fix it though, but who knows? Nope, did not fix it. Multiple line symbols. No, I like to keep it the other way then, if that's not the case. Wanted to try it out? That is very strange. I'm just surprised it doesn't give me errors for the other ones though. Yeah. Maybe if I put it with no, that's not the issue here. Already defined in axe action. In axe action. Let's find that out. Axe action? An axe action, huh? I'd love to know. I do use constant there, which is fine. I'm alright. I want to test something right now. Let me see. It needs it for the anim trees. Maybe I'll put it out. Maybe I can do it somewhere else instead of putting it in here. Because I need it for the anim trees, right? Alright, let's try doing something real quick. Hold on. Let's build it first. Let's go to chunk tile map real quick and disable this. I just want to build it real quick. So if I build it right now, okay, that built just fine. Let's come back here, build it. I was hoping to have it in here, so that way it's defined in one place without me needing to put it elsewhere. Yeah, it does not like it that I have it in here. It does not like it one bit. It says it's already defined, so I'm assuming that it's being called. I mean, this is being defined multiple times. Another thing I can do as well, maybe put it under another define. I don't think that's going to fix it though. No, that's not that. That's very strange. Very strange indeed. I think the best option that I would do now then would be to not put it in here, but put it elsewhere. Hold on. Let's ignore it. I wanted to keep it in everything in one place, but it does not like it at all. Let's remove it from here instead. Let's remove this header included from here, and let's define it in here instead. We'll need to define include vector. Okay, let's do that. Let's build it. Okay, and then if I'm not out of the picture just yet, hold on. If I bring this back, it's gonna give me errors because it doesn't know what that is. So now I need to include this in here. Include the data, environment data. So that should fix the errors from here. There we go. And let's build that. There we go. I don't know, man. Might have been doing something. Maybe I'm calling constant in the header file somewhere. Something's going on. But you know, linker errors are fun. It never tells you exactly what the problem is. Cool. I wanted to build it and run it, and just to make sure it's working like it was, and there was no errors there. Oh no, wait, cannot parse global. What happened to all this stuff here? I never had these errors before. That's very interesting. Let's see if it still works. I think I'm gonna get errors in here. Come on. Where did all these other errors come from? Interesting. I think what I gotta do is restart the. Let me restart it. The only times I got any errors like this is when I bring in a new version. I upgrade my Godot to a new version. Let's try opening it up again and see if that helps it out at all. Maybe I need to rebuild it before I open it up one more time. Be safe. Up to date, up to date. Let's open Godot. I'm still getting the errors. What the? We were just playing it. The only thing I did was change this. We added that struct and that's it. Whoa, what happened now? Ay. What's happened to all these errors? Let me see. Actually, wait, do I have memory in my computer? That's another problem with my computer. I'm running out of memory. I mean, like, hold on. I think that might be the problem that I'm having right now. Memory problems. Yeah, hold on. Let me delete some stuff then. Hold on, let me put that back in here. That way you guys got something to watch while I'm doing what I'm doing right now on the side. Let's clean out my... Let's clean up that. Anything in my downloads that I can clean up? I can delete this, I don't need this anymore. I can delete that, I don't need that anymore. What is this? A copy of it, I'm deleting you. I don't know what you are. Let me get the bigger sizes at the top. Okay, I got nothing else crazy going on in here. Empty recycle bin. I think that should be enough for the time being. Let me try it out. Let me try that again. I may need to rebuild it, I guess. Let me see. Below current project. Yeah, that was not it. Let's rebuild. Maybe it didn't rebuild correctly? So strange, I'm getting all these errors. And all I did was added a struct. That's all I did was added a struct in here. Hold on, let me comment this out. Oopsies. This for the time being, just so I can build it and rebuild it again afterwards. That's very strange. Okay, and now let's revert it back and build it. If this is still happening, I'm comment out everything I did today, which wasn't even that much, and see if it works still. Otherwise, something happened. Corrupted files or something, maybe? Hope it's not. Alright, let's try opening it up again. Where is my Godot? There you are. Ooh, I saw some errors here. Yeah, what is this error? Cannot open dynamic library. Error 1114. Dynamic link library initialization failed. But why? Access denied. Yeah, I remember seeing the access denied, which made me think my memory, but I got enough memory to be able to run this. Cannot open dynamic library. Okay. Let's go into that library, I guess, and I'll delete it and open it up again. I rebuild it, I mean. Strange that I can't open it. Might have gotten corrupted or something. Alright, let's go to that repo location. Game bin windows. Game bin windows. I created another temporary file here, which is weird. That was a long time ago, so it wasn't me. Alright, well. Trash. Deleting all the DLLs from here. And we'll just rebuild it. Yes. Move everything there, por favor. Alright, let's build it up again, I guess. Okay. Well, I had 8 items and I only have 4. I had a whole bunch of DLLs in here before. Now I only have 1. Where did the other ones come from? Let's I'll close Godot, reopen it up again. No, it's still errors. I still see the errors here. Strange. Alright, well I guess the stream is gonna end up being me fixing this problem, which I have no idea how it happened. It was working at the start of the stream. I added that struct and everything else just failed. Hit open GD Extension Dynamic Library. Wait, do I even have that file first? Hold on. The Windows lib Edenville .windows template underscore debug x64 8 x86 underscore 64. I see it right here. I have the DLL here. Lib Edenville .windows template underscore debug x86 64 DLL. Okay. And Raspbian Edenville, which is just right here. I see my extension right here. No problem. see. Yeah, everything's there. Everything's here. Very strange. Alright, well, let's try this then. I'll do it one more time. I'll do it one more time. I'm gonna remove what I did today and see if that fixes it. That is so strange. That is very strange. I love these errors. It doesn't tell you exactly what the problem is, but alright, let me comment this off. Which means I don't need this header file anymore for the time being. And let's go into that header file and nuke that entire thing. And let's build it. Well, that's the only thing I did. That's the only thing I did. Link and share, leave enable Windows template, this is the allow. It's gone, so everything's there. I don't get why. I don't see anything different here other than this other files that got created out of it, which I don't know where they're from. And let's reload the project. Okay, that works. So somehow something about Godot does not like this. Somehow. I got no more errors anymore. I mean, besides those two, but that's normal for me. If I run it, that's very strange. Or I do it, oh, I guess not. I never got the other errors though. There's still some errors in here. Oh, then my scene got messed up, I guess. Scripts inherits from native type character 2D, so it can't be assigned to an object or type character body. What's going on? I think I just messed up my entire project right now. Let's open my GitHub. Anything that I need to revert. Revert stuff that I don't need. Yeah, let's revert my scene because I never made any changes to the scene, to my level scene. Discard those changes. I didn't make any changes to any of this other stuff either. Yeah, this is probably the only change I made. Yeah, I comment those stuff out. I don't have any of this stuff in here anymore, which is fine. That's fine. Dev scene, that's okay. This is just a 2-ax, which I added. That's fine. And the player, I haven't even touched the player. So you changed my type to be a node instead? I didn't even touch any of this stuff, so which is why it's getting an error because of this. So let's discard that. I did not make any of those changes there. Game manager as well. I didn't make that change, so let's discard that. Godot automatically changed that for me, which I didn't tell it to. Let's just double check that everything else is fine. I don't know what this is. Discard. Yeah, everything else should be fine. Test scenes, the only thing that did is this one, and it got deleted. No, I actually did not delete that. I need that. Nope. So everything that became as there was a scene changed, and I didn't need to change it. So, okay. Now I can open Godot once again. Okay. Let's run it. Let's run that scene. All right, let's go. Ay, ay, ay. So is that the problem? Just because I did this in here and didn't like it? At least I know the problem, so if I were to enable it once more, I will know that this is the problem. Oh, was it initially when I had it in my constants header file and everything got just messed up? I'd like to try it one more time though. If it doesn't work, at least I know what I need to do now. Revert everything back. Let's go to chunk tile map. Let's undo that. Let's put it there. We'll try it one more time, guys, and if it doesn't work, then I need to think about that differently, how I want to structure that. Maybe put it within the class. That is strange. That is very, very strange. Alright, so we build. Does it crash? Give me errors. Yep, that is the problem. It doesn't like it one bit. Okay, good to know. It does not like it one bit. Alright, well, let's comment that off then. At least we double checked it and see that that was the problem. So, we'll figure out a different way to implement this. Probably put it in a game manager. It feels like probably the only best place to put it where I can actually access it elsewhere if I wanted to. So I think that's probably what I'm gonna do. But first of all, let's fix this problem then. So I comment those stuff out, comment this off, commented the bottom part, and we'll build it. We'll build it, and while that is building, let's go back in here. They automatically make changes to my scenes, which I didn't tell it to. So let's discard that. Let's discard this. Let's discard that. And let's discard this. Alright. Well, thank you, Godot, for being great, I guess. Or I'm wondering if... No, because I do this elsewhere. It's just two different strings. Okay, back to normal. Alright, so let's think of that differently then, since I didn't like it. I will put in a game manager for now, which I really didn't like, but it's not giving me an option. So let's uncomment that for now. We'll create this. I'm wondering if I can just skip the struct and just create a Godot dictionary instead. Yeah, let's go in that direction. I'll just keep that on the side for now. We'll create... call it environment. I'm just gonna call it data since I don't have this struct. Technically, I'll remove this since I don't need it, and I'll keep the struct class for now. I may be able to do some JSON stuff with it. I got this environment data. Actually, you know what? I need it so I can copy the stuff in there. So if I go to my game manager on top, let's move it over to this side at least. And at the very top, I either can do it in the ready. Let's do it in the ready just to be safe. I'll just do it before I do any other stuff. And in here, I'm just gonna say if it's 0, I want to initialize. But can I initialize something like that? So let's say I want the current scene path. Does that work? If I did this. And alright, I'll just initialize it the other way instead. Because there'll be another Godot dictionary. Yeah, so let's do that instead. Godot dictionary, and let's name it tree trunk data, and then tree trunk data will have the current scene that we mentioned, and we'll set that to be for the tree trunk to be that. And then for the next scene path is empty for this one. It doesn't have anything special on it. And let's copy this entire thing for now. We'll call this the... We'll call it the big tree. Big tree data, which points to this. Copy that. And then copy the next one to be this. Cool. Let's copy it one more time. And it's going to be the small tree data. And we'll just copy the stuff from here as well. Then I can call environment data at the 0. I want to define that this is gonna be the tree trunk. I should probably say it's a big tree trunk because I may end up adding a smaller one. So let's make sure I define that correctly. We'll do that. And do the same thing for the others, for 1 and 2. Or it could be an array too, right? Rather than doing it this way, it could be an array of dictionaries. Yeah, that will work too. Rather than doing 0, 1, 2 like that. Let's go back to my game manager header file. It'll be an array of Godot dictionaries. Let's do typed array. Godot dictionary. Name it that way instead. Cool. So instead of doing that, I would just call pand. I'll do that 3 times. First one will be for this one. Other one's gonna be this one, and the other one's gonna be this one. Cool. So we've defined these 3 here instead of doing it in here. So let's delete this. And honestly, don't need the other one anymore. I don't need this vector. Let's leave it like that for the time being. And I have 2 R's in this one here. Okay, so I have that. I need a getter function for that now. So what I would do is in here. Let's do const Godot. I'm debating if I want to return. You know, let's make it work and we'll clean it up after. I was gonna do some JSON serialization here, but no, let's make it work first and then we'll clean it up after. Get environment data at index. And we just pass in the index that we want to pass in. Let's create this class, this function. Cool. So we want to make sure that the index doesn't go out of bounds. So if it's less than 0, or if index it's greater or equal to the n environment data size, and just return just an empty dictionary. Otherwise, return and environment data at this index. Cool. Now we can go to my chunk tile mapping here. I don't need that top part. I'll delete it afterwards. Oh, I need to know the size of it too, huh? I'm debating if I need this function then, if I want to return the size. Do I just return the entire... Do I just return the entire index then? Entire at array? you know, you get the chance to do both. So let's do that. Godot typed typed array. Godot dictionary. I don't know if we could do a reference to that. Get environment data. Return. Probably put console on these other ones too, actually. So I have that. Let's also put a const here. Okay. So we'll get the size of environments. It's just gonna be the game manager get environment data. Which is just the size, right? And then I can just gives me that. Go through here, and I get the environment size. Or Godot dictionary. Get environment data index, which we have, which is the IDX. And by doing so, I'm going to double check that it has the current theme path, and if so, return this instead. Okay, I need another parentheses here. Current scene path. Okay. Alright, let's try building it. Let's remove the thing from up here. I don't need that environment data anymore. Let's build it. Let's hope that I don't get any of that stuff again. Difference. Hold on. I see. It doesn't like the referencing here. It just wants it like that. Alright, hold on. Let me fix that then. If it doesn't like it, then I guess I'll just take it off then. Same thing with this. Let's go into my thing here. Let's do that. Alright. A redefinition? Yes, it's a redefinition. Okay. Let's call it world environment data. Let's do that instead. Okay. Please don't be mean. All right. And the only way to test this out is to actually play the game and see if it actually works. And see if it spawns any trees. Now let's load that in. Let's go in here and see. Sweet! I can see all the trees. We got everything in there. So, alright. Sorry, that took a lot longer than I wanted to. Yeah, with that crash. Whatever I was getting before, I did not like it one bit. I did not like that one bit at all. Alright, well, at least we're now back on track. So what was I doing before? So I made it work now using the environment data, the world, I guess I'm gonna call it now. So now that every time I hit in a tree, let's go into the axe action. And we can start building it from there. And double check that there. Okay. Checking time. That took a long time. Alright, let's go into environment data. So I want to do something similar. So if I come in here, I hit. I gotta set that hit in here as well. That I ended up hitting something. So I'll set that to true. I did hit something. So then when it axe completes, it goes through here. It doesn't know what this is because it's not a layer. So I should be doing something else in here. And saying, hey, at last hit node. I guess we can call it. We don't have that defined just yet. So let's define that. We'll probably do it next to the last hit layer here. And it's going to be a node 2D pointer. Right, so if that doesn't equal null, let's make sure I set null to everything here because I don't need it afterwards. So if I hit this, I gotta do something here. Or if anything at all, I don't know if I need to. I'm just going with the flow. Well, one thing also, I gotta set it to that. Oh, let's put it as a node for now. I don't know if I need to actually put it as a node to D right now. Okay, so I have that. I get the resources, so I need a way to find out what kind of resources that this thing has. And the only way to do that, I think when I'm spawning a tree, I need to know what is its current ID in some way. So let's do that then. So let's go back to the chunk tile map. When I'm spawning, wait, yeah, this is where I spawn the trees, right? Yep. We call this tree node, reparent, blah blah blah, blah blah, and let's call a function, or yeah, this is a tree. It has to have this function, and call it just set data for right now. For the time being, and I want to pass in that IDX to it. So then when it comes in here into my axe action, I need to know what resources. So yeah, I guess I can use it in here, I guess, right? I would like to get the index of this, and I can use the last node call function to say, hey, get ID. which should return the ID to it. And then I can get the dictionary. World environment data. And debating if I want to go in this direction, but get environment data and index. I'm passing that index, and I'm just gonna say if it has the resource ID, we'll pass it in to equal what this resource ID is going to be, and that should fix the problem for the resource ID, right? So after it comes in here, it does everything, it should go through here and do whatever I gotta do for that. And let's create those classes before I forget. Those functions, I mean. Let's go to the tree class. We'll have a variable here, which is just the ID. Let's name my ID and -1. And then we gotta create those functions. I'm just gonna say set data. For the time being, we're just passing the index of it, and ID equals the index, and a function for get ID, which returns the int, and return that ID. And that should be set up here. And in my C++, oh yeah, I had it open already. What am I doing? I'll go back to my game manager when I was initializing those things at the top. I may end up going in a different direction. Maybe I can set a database dictionary instead. I don't have to define it in here, but for the time being, it will work. This is get passing a resource ID, and I believe the resource ID for this is called resource underscore wood. Let's double check that that is what it's called. Minus collection. Let's load it in. For the assets, resources, database, manage, items, resource dash wood. Okay, so it's not an underscore, it's just dash. Resource dash wood. I think another thing I'm missing here, if I go to action, am I missing the quantity that I'm giving? Yeah, no, that's actually, I'm doing it randomly here. Never mind. I don't need that. We got this resource ID, and it's going to be the same thing for all three of them for the time being. Let's make sure I copy that here. Okay, so I have that. So that should completely fix that. Now let's fix this dictionary that I have in here. Because there's some things that I don't need in here, right? So what I'm gonna say here, if tile or last tile hit layer, whatever it's called, what was the name of it? Last, is it last hit layer? If it's coming from the tile map, and this is what I wanted to use, I still need this to still be useful, because it tells me where is the location of this. So I need to set that. So let's set that in here. before I'm setting it using this, get the global and convert it to a tile map. And that's not going to be working for me, at least, because I don't have this hit layer. So I will need a way to convert it to a map pos. In the end. I mean, I could do it myself. Do I have a function for that at all? I don't even know if I do. I don't think I do. I don't ever remember doing it. Oh, I do. I do. I lied. Alright. Alright, so we have this. We're gonna get the game manager world position to map position. And we'll pass in the mless hit node and get the global position. Yeah, this is why I need a node to D here at this point. It doesn't know what it is. Wonder if we can get a call and call the global position that way. I don't know. Just to make save is plotted to D here, and we'll cast it on top. Godot node to D. Passing that in here. And then we should be able to get global position here. What happened here? A non-static. Oh, it's not a static function. Okay, good call. We'll do that. Does the asset pause? Current stage. I gotta determine what stage I am in. And usually, if it's the big tree, it should be a 1. And depending on the ID, I can determine that. Or I can pass it into the environment data on top, which tells me what stages it's in. Yeah. So here I can just pass in stage. And it's a trunks are stage 0 because that's no more stages anymore. And for a tree, it's gonna be a stage of 1. And the same thing for the bottom one. Okay. So I can pass that there, going here, go to the axe action, gives me that stage that I need. And world environment data that has stage, which should have it. Okay, so now it has that. I think for the time being, as I know that everything is a tree, I should probably pass it in here. Or wondering if there's a different way to do it. Yeah, I mean, I'll think about it. Hold on. So we got stage, we get the map pause. I don't need these other ones. Okay. Yeah, I guess we can do it through there, I guess. We just call it world environment data. And it has type. And I just set it to that. Right. There's one thing I would like to do though, before I come in here. If it's this. Hold on. For the time being, I want to know if the resources work. No point of continuing forward if it doesn't work. So I'm just going to say if it's a last hit node, so that means I hit a node instead of a tile map. I'm just gonna return. And I just want to know if I may actually even go in here. And then it's producing resource wood for now. Last thing I want to add in here is just tell it what type it is. All of this stuff is gonna be trees. And the reason why I'm doing this because this can be something else. Right? I can pass in other stuff here besides trees. It can be like rocks or whatever other environment type of nodes I want to add. So that's the main reason I'm kind of doing this right now. But since at the time being I only have trees, then that's why it looks like everything's trees. Alright, let's build this. And let's see if it produces wood. So every time I hit a tree, I should be producing resources now. Let me hydrate actually. Alright, that's gonna build. Great. Let's close this off. Go to the scene. And let's see if it works. If not, we'll break point to it and see what's up. Alright, let's get my axe. And let's select that. There we go. I got 3. Oops. Got 3 wood. So I'll keep getting 3s. Does it ever be something else other? Oh, there we go. I got 1 right there. Okay, cool. But it's mostly 3s. Cool. So that is working. Now we have to make it so it changes to a different one, right? So let's go back to my axe. Let's disable this so it keeps going forward. It does all of this stuff. Our current stage is this. Alright, alright. Let's go to my manager. And let's go to that function on axe. Complete or something. Something on axe. On pickaxe? Nope. On axe complete. Alright. So we come through here, passes that data that we were just touching earlier from in the axe action. I get the current scene, gets the data, destroyed scenes, gets the map pause and making sure if there is something already in that tile location. And it retrieves that data. And it keeps track of these hits that I have. So if the environment data is empty, it's never been accessed before set. That means I got 0 hits in here. But what if it... Oh, I increased it. I thought it was minus. Okay, that's fine. So I hit 1. I get the stage, which I did. I set it up already. And do a -1 on it. Okay, so here's the problem here, because I'm not doing a tile layer anymore, right? So these are... Give me a second, see how I'm planning on doing this. Then this sets it up for the next stage. And it does everything else, right? What is this else? Else, if it's greater than 3, that means it's... if it's greater than 3, that means it's done. It's empty. If... Hold on, am I saying that correctly? I guess because if it's not greater than 3, then it's just grass. So I guess that doesn't really mind. I don't mind that part. Okay, so what I care about is the one inside of here, because it's not a tile layer anymore. So how do I handle this case? How do I determine if it's a tile or if it's just a regular node. I can pass it as in the axe action. That's probably the only place I can tell it what kind of option, or there's no other way to determine it in here without telling it from here. I mean, another thing I can say, if it's a tree, it automatically goes into my, yeah, I can do that too. If the environment type is a tree, then it goes here. So earlier we got the type, right? So we can say Godot string environment type, and we just return that type. All trees are actually spawned as nodes now. So if it's a tree, oh wait, hold on, oops. If environment type equals tree, then do its own thing. Otherwise, go to the tile layer section of it, because I need that to work with rocks and all of that stuff. I still want it to work that way. Cool. All right, so when it's a tree, what do I gotta keep track of? So if the stage is less than 0, that means we reach the end. Wait, so is the tree trunk still considered stage 1 then? And the tree is stage 2? Because if it's 0 or less, then it looks like I'm just clearing it out. Yeah. Okay. So I just gotta increment the values on top then. I just want to keep it consistent. So what I would do here is that I will despawn it. I need to find a way to despawn this, or to be able to do it here in Game Manager. Oops. I removed the key from my keyboard. There we go. I could call it from the tree directly. Can I? Do I have access? No, I don't have access to the tree. Is there a despawn? No, you got a spawn node. Anywhere in here, are we despawning anything from? Okay, there we go. We got despawn to pull. So I am calling it somewhere. Let's go back up here and let's fix it up for this one. On despawn pool. I actually don't have this. Oh, I do, right? I do have this. I don't have the node itself, because I don't have access to it. In here, I can pass it in. Right, we'll come back to this one and we'll figure out a good way. Let's just continue forward, pretending that despawn tree here. We'll just keep going forward, like pretending like we actually despawned it already. And anything else that I need to do, I'll keep timestamp. I like keeping timestamps of stuff. Oh no, I don't think I have to do that, but cool. Then if I despawn that, that means this tree is passable now. And let the A star know that this path or this position is not solid anymore. I gotta figure out what's this doing. Yeah, let's do another to do here and let's figure out what else is this doing. Just to make sure it's working as it should. Figure out what this is doing. Because it's clear a solid point at that tile position. I just don't know why we're passing an environment index in here. I might be using it to clear it out from the tile map. I don't know what exactly that's doing right now. And then it just keeps track of this. Clears the outline if the mouse is hovering over the tree. Otherwise, if it's not less than 0, we can go to the next Atlas stage. Okay. Another thing I was thinking of doing is that instead of getting a next scene path, it gives me the option to go to the next. So this points to another node in the array, next element ID. Instead, since this doesn't have one, I can just set it to -1. This big tree points to this small tree trunk, right? If I want to go in this direction. Because in that case, what kind of info is this giving me? Because then in that case, I can use that ID and update the ID in the tree when I'm spawning it. Remember we called that set data? Here you set an ID to there, and this will be the reason for it right now. Let's go in this direction, but that means I'm gonna have to add another one. Alright, let's just set it for now. So the next element ID for the tree trunk is gonna be 0, because this is the first one in the array. Right? It'll be the first one in the array. So this points to that. Nothing points to a big tree, so that's okay. And then we have this one. I may need to... Hold on. So you got this big tree trunk. I would like to create one for the small tree trunk. So we'll have to add another one, another additional to the array. So some of the trees may change later on. For the time being, we got the small one. It gives me a resource ID. It is stage 1, like we mentioned earlier. And the next element ID for this is still 0. I mean -1 because it doesn't point to the next thing afterwards. Because there's nothing left over. After your tree trunk, there's nothing left over. No more stages. So this is a 1 and a 1. Both of these are -1s. And then we have this tree trunk. This is 0 now, and this is 1. So this points to that one, and this will point us to 0 now, right? The small tree, it points to the small tree trunk on the top, and this should be stages 2 now. So let's keep that in track. All right, so let's add another one here in this array. Big tree, and let's make sure that this is 0 here. Cool. -2 and 0. Hold on, I meant to put 2 here, not here. And now that we have that, let's get this ID here, because we want to do something with it. I think it's right here. Yeah. All right, so we want to do something with this right now, right? We'll need to pass in the index of this in the environment world data for it as well. Because we need to know which one we're in. Or can we use... No, we can't use the stage as an ID. No, so we need to pass in an index here, or like an ID. Or we can do, no, not the world. What was the name of it? 22, create. Int. Current hit ID. So it's a -1 for now. And we can set that current hit ID here, actually. Pass that in here. Let's make sure after we hit it, we set it to -1. I don't want to deal with it later. And then we pass it in here. The only one that's going to need this ID is just if it's a node. So we pass in environment, dictionary, we're passing as an ID. Object ID. Right. So I got it here. And then I can use it in here now to get that world environment ID. World, what was it? I think it was just called environment in here. Environment data, which then I will need to get this ID. Got an int ID, and it was called object ID. And we'll pass in the ID here to give me the data that we're getting. So dictionary. I'm just gonna call it tree data for now, since I know it's a tree. And in here will give me what the next ID is gonna be. So the next tree data, environment data. I don't have that. So let's define it. So the next ID is going to be tree data. Oh no, wait, let's call it int next ID. It's going to be tree data of this. Cool, so that gives me the next ID. What I gotta do here is to despawn the current tree because I don't need it. So same as above, we'll despawn it. And we'll spawn this new tree here. Spawn node. With that path. Let's go through here and see what this is doing. Suja, welcome to the stream, buddy. Welcome. On pool. Path. There's no parent, but I should pass a parent to it. Or I can just call this myself. Let's just call that myself. We'll spawn it here. Right. So the path, we know what the next tree data is. We'll pass in the data, and it's going to be called, what was it, current scene path. I need the environment node here. I'll need to pass it in here eventually. Node to the pointer tree node. So spawn it, get that. And then in here, if it's not null, we'll make sure, first of all, make this visible. True. What else do we need to call here? I think it was call set data. which passes in that new ID. We keep track of it. What else this needs right now? I'll probably have to make this be in one place rather than having it here and in the chunk tile map. When I'm spawning this bad boy, spawn the tree. Yeah, this is what I need. I need to reparent it. It'll be this node. Then it keeps track of the spawn trees in here. Okay. So that's one thing I gotta keep in mind in here as well then. Gotta keep track of this spawn trees. Keeps track of it. And updates and set that. So I don't have to do much. I will need to know. Okay, so I got access to chunk tile map, right? I can create a function and pass in the map pass, whatever I need, which then we'll be able to access. I'll remove the other tree and add it. Remove the other tree, and then we can. I'm wondering if it will remove it automatically, but it should be able to. Alright, so let's do that then. Let's do that. Is this C++? Yes. It is C++. Alright, so create a function here then. We're gonna call I need to know what tree am I hitting. But I feel like I need to pass in that tree regardless. I'm gonna call update tree node will pass in Godot to the pointer, and it's gonna be the tree node. I call it old tree node, and then the new tree node that we're going to be creating. Godot node to the corner, a new tree node, right? So quick, create that. And what I want to do, okay, let's just put this smaller. I don't really care about any of this other stuff in here. And what I want to do is to be able to access the spatial chunk array direction. Spatial position. I'm gonna have to get this tree, convert it to tile map position, and then convert that to a spatial position to be able to find out if it's in this tile chunk. So I need to create this spatial position here. So let's do that first, and then we'll do what's next after. Right. So I don't know what this spatial position is yet. So what I gotta do, say call Godot node vector to old tree position and get global position, right? And then we'll convert that position to a tile map. Do I have access to anything other tile map nodes in here? I do not. Alright, let's just get one of them, I guess. Tile map layer. And this is just to convert that position to a tile map position. And just use the ground layer cast to Godot tile map layer. And here you want to get the children. I'll get child at tile layers. What was the name? There it is. Tile layers. So I'll get the ground. And then I have access to that local to map function. Whole tree position. Technically I don't need it. I can calculate it myself. But this is still a tile map position, so from this point on I need to convert this into a spatial position. So I need to do a floor of my currents and divide that by spatial chunk size and make sure this is a float. Right. And just to be safe, I just like doing this. And we want to do the same thing for the Y. So now that I have that, I should be able to find my spatial chunk. And this ends up being an array. Array of dictionaries. I'm getting a chunk. That's an array. I'm looping through all of them. That gives me the environment data. What am I trying to? I'm trying to update the tree, so I'm able to hit the trees and it gives me resources. And after hitting the tree a couple times, in my case I want to hit it 3 times before changing it to a tree trunk. So I'm trying to make that change. I just want to make sure I'm doing it in the right way. So hold on. We got this spatial position, which is a typed array of dictionaries. I loop through all of them. Grab that, grab the top position. Trying to remember why each chunk has an array of spawn trees. And I misspelled that, by the way. I misspelled trees, okay. Let's see. At least I named it correctly for all of them, so that should be fine. Noise valuing heights. Get the size and determine what tree I'm hitting. Get the current scene path. Only thing I'm confused now. So I'm getting this spatial chunk right at this location. I just don't know why the inner part has an array. Couldn't it just be a regular dictionary? Why did I make it an array? Let's go back to where I'm actually populating this. When I spawn the trees. Okay, so it's gonna be, no, it's not this one. Oh yeah, it is this one, no mind. So if it's a grass, I determine if it's gonna be spawning a tree here, and if it does, I get the environment data, blah blah blah, I get spatial position. If it has that, I'm trying to remember why did I make this an array and not just a dictionary. Is there any reason why a spatial chunk has an array of environment data? I think it doesn't need to be an array. Get that array, pass it in, then I set it to that spatial chunk, but it doesn't need to be an array though. Hold on, let's give something a try real quick. I'm trying to figure out why am I creating an array, and instead of just making it as an environment data instead. I don't know if it needs it. Or maybe if I change it right now, I can figure out why I'm needing it right now. Hold on. I guess because there's different trees in that location. I guess that's why I was saying it's different trees. But why do I have one that's a tree out here? If each array here is a tree and this spatial chunk, why does it have an inner one that has its own array of spawn trees? I don't remember this logic that I have in here. I see what I'm doing, but I just don't know why the spawn tree is here. Yeah, that's very strange. I mean, it works because there's only one in here anyway. Very interesting. Yeah, I see why it's an array now. Or let's revert this back. So the question I'm confused on is this thing here. What I would do instead, this needs some changing. I don't know if I want to do it right now though, because time is already clicking now. Okay, so I can talk about what I want to do here. So right now I have a chunk, and each of those chunks that's an array, because this array determines how many trees are in that chunk, which is what this is doing. It's telling me the position, the noise value, and the height. But for whatever reason, in that array, it has its own array of spawn trees, which shouldn't be in here. So what I gotta do is to make that chunk to be just a regular dictionary. Within that dictionary, I should have an array that keeps track of all these environment datas, and move this out of, and move the spawn trees out of the environment data into the actual chunk dictionary instead. So, because I'm creating an array within its own environment data, but it's only going to be one tree here at all times. So that's what I just got confused on right now. But anyway, we got some resources that are spawning already, which is great. So if I pick up my axe right now, I'm able to hit a tree. At least we did something today. We got sidetracked by that error I got earlier. Getting wood gives you a little toast on top how many woods you're getting, and it's kind of back to how it was before. So now, after hitting it 3 times, I should be able to change to a trunk now, but I gotta change the back end and fix that array issue that I just saw right now. I may need to fix this problem here if it's a problem. Hopefully it's just a problem in this testing, because sometimes You see that? It kind of, the character just switches over to the left. But cool. So I mean, at least I got that working for this stream. I apologize for that other error. I have no idea why I completely just broke my entire Godot project. But that was fun though, I guess. But anyways, I think this is where I'm calling it though, guys. I gotta go back to work. It is 10 already, and it's time for me to go and start on my other job already. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday. I'll be streaming on Wednesday, same time as usual, and I'll probably work on this array issue off screen so that when I come back on Wednesday, we can start working on switching that tree to a trunk. So I think that's the plan. Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for being on this stream. Thank you, Sujal, for joining, passing by. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate ya. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day, guys.